Good morning, children, and welcome to the social science class. Today, we are going to start the summary lecture of Chapter 3 History, the Delhi Sultans. Actually, we have already covered all the topics from this chapter. Today, we will recapitulate the topics done there in lecture number 1, 2, and 3. So, let's start with the topics. The topics that we have already discussed or today again we will recapitulate. They are Delhi as center means how did Delhi become center, as now it's capital of our country, and till now in the ancient history or pre-medieval history we had not learnt about Delhi, but now here how it became the center we have learned in this chapter. So how it became center and at whom dynasty. The rulers of Delhi Sultanate, that we will cover. Circle of justice, challenges before sultans, expansion of Delhi Sultanate, mosque or masjid. Mosque, a masjid is Arabic word for mosque. Administration of sultans, Alauddin's administrative reforms, failures of Tughlaq's administration. So let's start with the topics. Delhi as center. Delhi became the capital of a kingdom under the Tomar Rajputs. If we talk about before that time period, Delhi was not there in history, means that was not any main center. But at the time of Tomar Rajput, it became the capital or center of the kingdom. Then Tomar Rajputs, they were from the Rajput dynasty, and then they were defeated by Chauhans, as we talked about in chapter number 2 also, Prithviraj III. So he defeated him. That was all about the Rajput dynasty. Then Delhi flourished as an important commercial center during that particular time. Delhi Sultanate played the most vital role in the transformation of Delhi, as we talked that it became the center and a commercial center or the capital of any kingdom during that period of time. So Delhi Sultanate played a most vital role in the transformation of Delhi. And what were the important activities those were going on there in Delhi at the time? There were many Jaina merchants lived there and constructed temples. Different Jaina merchants were there. Those had constructed many temples there in Delhi. Coins minted there, that was known as Daliwal. Means the minted here means the process of making coins that was going on in Delhi, and that was known as Daliwal. Cities in Delhi, or you can say important towns in Delhi at that time were Delhi Yakuna, Siri, Jahanpana, and later on one more town was added, that was Daulatabad. That was famous at the time of Tughlaq dynasty. So these were the some important things at the time in Delhi. Jaina merchants were there. Those constructed different temples. Coin minted process was going on, that was known as Daliwal, and the important towns in Delhi area, Delhi Yakuna, Siri, Jahanpana, Daulatabad. The next is rulers of Delhi Sultanate. First is Rajput dynasties, Tomars, then early 12th century, in which Chauhans were also included, and Chauhans defeated Tomar Rajputs. And then as we have done in chapter number 2, Prithviraj III, he was defeated by one of the ruler that we have covered there in, and that ruler name was Muhammad Ghori. After then, early Turkish rulers, they were known as slave dynasty also. Early Turkish rulers in the starting of 13th century, that was there, and they were famous as slave dynasty. They, after the death of Muhammad Ghori, that they established their dynasty. Qutbuddin Aibak was the first ruler of slave dynasty. So the time period then it was from 1206 to 1290. Slave dynasty, then Khilji dynasty, then Tughlaq dynasty, Sayyid dynasty, Lodi dynasty. And basically from slave dynasty till Lodi dynasty, these five dynasties were considered as the Delhi Sultanate altogether. From early Turkish rulers, or you can say slave dynasty, till Lodi dynasty, they were considered as the five famous dynasties of Delhi Sultanate. Now, finding out about Delhi Sultans. As we know that history we come to know from different evidences. So how did we get the evidences of Delhi Sultans? We get information from inscriptions, coins, architecture, but the best way of getting information about Delhi Sultans, that is histories. And histories basically that was known as Tariq or Twarik. Tariq is singular word or Twarik is its plural word. Were written in Persian language. Tariq or Twarik that was written in Persian language, as Persian language was the administrative language of the sultans. In Delhi Sultanate, Persian was the administrative language of sultans. The authors of Twarik were learned men. They were not just literate people. They were learned men, including secretaries, administrators, poets, courtiers, etc. Means the learned people, they had written Tariq or Twarik. They were the authors of these Twarik and they were writing about the sultans there in Tariq. So that was the way by which we came to know about Delhi sultans. Now let's do something about the authors of Twarik. Authors of Twarik, they basically lived in cities. Most of the authors, they were living in cities. They were not living in village area. They wrote their histories for sultans in hope of rich rewards. They were writing in praise of their sultans so that they could get the rich rewards. As in history, till here we have done many times that the different people or different writers, they were writing in praise of their rulers. So here also in Delhi Sultanate, the authors of history or Twarik, they were writing in praise of or in favor of their sultan in hope of rich rewards. They also advised rulers on governance. Sometimes they were giving the different ruling governance to the rulers also. They emphasized the importance of rule based on birthright and gender distinction. Very important thing. Birthright, they were thinking the people, those who were born in noble family, they had some rights with them. And gender distinction means here the gender discrimination basically. At the time they were thinking that the female, they did not have any independence identity. They were basically subordinates of men. So this was written there. They were in favor of this birthright and gender distinction. Now, what do these two names means? Birthright and gender distinction. Birthright, people believed that nobles inherit their rights because they were born in certain families. Means the nobles, those got the birth in noble families, they were having certain rights with them. Gender distinction, social and biological difference between men and women. They were thinking that women, they were not having their the independent identity. They were just subordinating the men. So that was the difference between men and women at that time was known as gender distinction. Example of gender distinction. Here in the chapter we have done that Razia Sultan. She was the successor of Iltutmish. the famous ruler of slave dynasty or Turkish rulers. Iltutmish, Rajia Sultana was the daughter of Iltutmish, and she became Sultan in 1236 as she was more able and qualified than her brothers. So she was there as a ruler in 1236. She was dethroned or removed from throne in 1240 only for being a woman. She was unacceptable to the nobles. The nobles, those were present in kingdom, they were not accepting her as sultan, and that was the reason because they were thinking that women, they were subordinate of men. They did not have their own identity. So she was dethroned or she was removed from throne in 1240 only, just in 4 years. And another example of gender distinction, it was Rudrama Devi. Rudrama Devi, she was there in Warangal, Andhra Pradesh, and she could rule over there because she pretended as male. Even she changed her name as a male. So that's why she could rule here. One more example it was given, that was the ruler of Kashmir. She was famous as Didi, but she changed as Dida. The name she changed as Dida. So these were the examples of gender distinction at that present time. The next topic, circle of justice. A very important thing in which we learnt that how the justice of ruler that affected the happiness of the people living in the kingdom. Fakhar-e-Mudabbir wrote in 13th century about the circle of justice, and what he wrote, a king cannot survive without soldiers, and soldiers cannot live without salaries. Salaries come from revenue collected from peasants, but peasants can pay revenue only when they are prosperous and happy. This happens when the king promotes justice and honest governance there in the kingdom. So according to him, he was trying to say that if peasants of a particular kingdom, they were prosperous and happy, they could give revenue easily, and if they were giving revenues, so definitely the salaries were paid to the soldiers. If soldiers were happy, so definitely they made the king also happy. This was the circle of justice. The next is garrison town and hinterland. Here garrison town, if we talk about the town that was fortified settlement with soldiers. As fortified means the particular area around which fortification was made. So garrison town was fortified settlement with soldiers. In early 13th century, Delhi Sultan did not go beyond fortified towns. The reason that they were there, they were controlled there themselves, they had the control there in fortified area only. And sultans seldom controlled the hinterland. They were not able to control the hinterland there, and hinterland were the adjacent area, or you can say the area near the garrison town that was adjacent to a city that supply it with goods and services. Means hinterland, the adjacent area of the town that supplies goods and the services to garrison town. So they were not having control on hinterland even. So that was all about garrison town and adjacent area, that was hinterland. Next thing, challenges before sultans. Why were they had the control over in the limited area only? It was difficult to control garrison towns in Bengal and Sindh from Delhi, as these areas were very far from Delhi. So it was really very much difficult for sultans to have control over Bengal and Sindh. The first problem. Second, Mongol invasion from Afghanistan was a challenge for Delhi authority, as at the time of Delhi Sultanate, Mongol in the leadership of Genghis Khan, he invaded here in subcontinent many times. Basically at the time of Alauddin Khilji and Muhammad Tughlaq. And the Mongol invasion means he attacked with his army there in subcontinent. So it was also a major challenge before the Delhi authorities. The next one, governors. Governors means the officers there in the kingdom or in Sultanate also rebelled at sign of Sultan's weakness. Rebelled here, it means to fight against authority. Means sometimes when they saw any sign of weakness in Sultan, they rebelled against the Sultan. So these were the challenges before Sultans there in Delhi. Now after these different challenges, how the expansion of Delhi Sultanate was made. Expansion of Delhi Sultanate. The two different frontiers are explained here. Two types of expansions are given here. The first expansion that was there in hinterland only, and the another one beyond the hinterland. The first one, the first in expansion along the hinterland frontier of Sultanate. And what was made for that? Forests were cleared in Ganga Yamuna Doab, and these areas were provided for the development of agriculture. That was really beneficial for peasants as well as for sultans. New garrison towns and other towns were established to protect trade routes. And even to have a control on trade routes, they had established different garrison towns. So this was the first expansion of Delhi Sultanate, that was along internal frontier. Means here that was there inside the hinterlands only. They were trying to have the control over hinterland in the first expansion. Then the second expansion along the external frontier, that was made beyond the hinterland. Military expedition into southern India, and that expedition that was done at the time of Alauddin Khilji first of all. Then it was culminated with Muhammad Tughlaq. It was culminated means it was at its height, the highest height at the time of Muhammad Tughlaq. And that's why it was said that the Muhammad at the time of Muhammad Tughlaq, that was the farthest boundaries of Delhi Sultanate. So this expansion was started with Alauddin Khilji and culminated with Muhammad Tughlaq of Tughlaq dynasty. In their campaign, they captured elephants, horses and slaves. Different things they captured from the area where they had expeditions. So these were the expansion of the Delhi Sultanate. The first expansion that was there in hinterlands, and the second expansion along the external frontier means beyond the hinterlands. Stages of making manuscript. This was also explained in your chapter, in which we had done that 4 stages were mentioned. Firstly, preparing of paper. They prepared the paper. They knew the knowledge of preparing paper. Then they were writing the text, whatever was required to write. Then melting gold to highlight important words and passages. In the text, wherever the important words or passages were present, they were highlighting them with gold. Then preparing the binding, or at last after completion of all these things, they were binding them. So this was the process of making manuscript at the time of Delhi Sultanate. Now mosque or masjid. Basically mosque, the masjid word is taken from Arabic, and it is the used for mosque only. So different mosques, those were built at the time of Delhi Sultanate. The first one, Quwat al-Islam. It was mosque and minaret built during 12th century. At the time of 12th century it was built, and In this, it was congregational mosque. Congregational, basically the mosque where the people of that community, they were they could go there and they could do the prayers there. And what was going on there in congregational mosque? Their prayers, means namaz, they were offered in that particular mosque, and the learned person or the famous person of that community who was learned person, he was offering the prayers there. And prayer, as we talked, that was known as namaz. And the learned male who was leader or who was offering the prayer, he was known as imam. The person or leader of that particular mosque who was offering prayer there, he was known as imam. And he delivered sermon there, and sermon was known as khutbah also at the on the day of Friday. So this was all about the mosque that was built in the town of Delhi Kunha, the old city, as we talked about. Quat Islam, it was the mosque or minaret that was built there in 12th century. Congregational mosque it was. The people independently they could go there, and the person who was offering namaz there was the learned person or leader, and he was known as imam. And the sermon or the he offered sermon at the on Friday. It was also known as khutbah. So this was all about Quat al-Islam. Then Begumpuri Mosque, the second example, it was built at the time of Muhammad Tughlaq. Mot Ki Masjid, it was built at the time of Sikandar Lodi by his minister only. Mosque of Jamali Kamali, built in late 15th 20, it was built by Sheikh Fazl Allah. So these were the description of some of the mosques those were built at the time of Delhi Sultanate. Administration under sultans. What type of administration was there? Delhi Sultan, especially Iltutmish. Iltutmish was the famous ruler of slave dynasty. Means he was the Turkish ruler. He favored their special slaves purchased for military services. Means they purchased some slaves as the purpose of military services, and he favored them. And at that time they had given some special post to or offices to these slaves. These special slaves were known as Bandagan in Persian. As they were using Persian language, so these special slaves were known as Bandagan. They had been given some important offices in the kingdom. And what was the reason? Because they were really faithful to their masters. They were faithful to their masters, and that's why they had given some important offices, and they were known as Bandagan in Persian. They were appointed as generals and governors even. And this was later on that was became the very difficult for the rulers even, because the old officers and then these new officers, there were the different ways they were fighting against them. They were not accepting them because they were from the lower birth. That's why the old governors, they were not accepting them. And even the authors of Tariq, they also started writing against the rulers after them. So this was all about Bandagan. They were the special slaves, and they had been given different services there in the military. Military commanders were also present. Most of the military commanders had land that was known as Ikta. The commanders of military at that time, they were having their own land, and that the land that was known as Ikta, and the holder of that Ikta, means those military commanders, those were having Ikta, they were known as Iktidar or Muktis. The name Muktis and Iqtidar that was given to military commanders, those were the owner of Iqta. These military commanders led campaign and maintained law and order in their Iqta. So the Iqtas, those they were having, their duty was there to maintain law and orders. These commanders were collecting revenue as their salaries. The whatever they were collecting from that Iqta, that particular land area, they were using that tax as their salaries, and even that from that taxes only they were giving the salaries to their soldiers also. And one important thing was done by the sultans, that was accountants were appointed by the state to check the amount of revenue collected by muktis. These muktis, whatever the taxes they were collecting, that was checked by the different accountants. Even they were checking whether the muktis were collecting the taxes prescribed by state or not. And the third thing, they were also checking the number of soldiers they were having. These three things they were checking. They were checking the amount of revenue they were collecting. They were checking the taxes that they were collecting were prescribed by the state, and whatever the number of soldiers they were having, that the number of soldiers they were checking. So this was the duty of accountants, those were appointed by state. The taxes of that time, what type of taxes they were collecting? Tax on cultivation, known as kharas. It was 50% of peasants' produce. Means peasants, whatever they were having as a production, so they were paying 50% of that production as kharas, as tax. The second tax, it was tax on cattle, and third tax on houses. But main tax it was kharas, that was given by peasants as 50% of their produce. And from that taxes only they were paying salaries to their soldiers also. Mongol attack. Mongols invaded Transoxania in northeast Iran in 1219. Basically, Mongol attacked here, or Mongol invaded there in subcontinent. They were from Central Asia, and they invaded subcontinent here at the time of Alauddin Khilji as well as Muhammad Tughlaq. That's why they had the different policies against them. They had different administrative reforms to fight against these Mongols, and they were attacking, they were invading in the leadership of Genghis Khan. They attacked on Delhi Sultanate during the time of Alauddin Khilji and early years of Muhammad Tughlaq's rule. This was all about Mongols' attack. Alauddin Khilji's administration reform means what type of reforms, what type of actions he had taken for that Mongols attacks. First thing, Alauddin Khilji raised a large standing army as defensive measure. He built a large army so that he could defend for Mongols. Then he constructed a new garrison town named Siri for his soldiers. As we talked that in starting also, different towns of Delhi. So he constructed a new garrison town named Siri for his soldiers, for the safety of soldiers. Or garrison, as we talked, the town that was fortified. The soldiers had to be fed. This was done with the help of tax from land. Whatever the taxes that was coming from land, he was giving that from that particular part to the soldiers as their salary. He paid cash salaries to his soldiers rather than Iqta. As we talked that Iqta or Iqtidars were there, but Alauddin Khilji was giving cash salaries to soldiers rather than Iqta. And he made sure that these people, these soldiers, obviously they were purchasing the things from merchants there in the market, as they were getting cash salaries. So he ensured that the prices of the goods that they were getting, they were taking from the merchants, they were the lower one. So he controlled the prices of goods in Delhi. That was again in the favor of soldiers. So these reforms were done by Alauddin Khilji in his administration. Then if we talk about Muhammad Tughlaq's administration, he also raised a large standing army like Alauddin Khilji. The same procedure he followed. He got Delhi and Kuhna emptied in order to garrison his soldiers. What he did at the time of Khilji, Alauddin Khilji, he constructed a new garrison town for his soldiers. He did not do any other action. But here, what he did, he got Delhi and Kunha emptied, where the residents, different people were living. He asked them to leave that particular town, and that town was given as a garrison town to the soldiers. And residents were sent to new city Daulatabad in south. At that time, the people, they were very sad as they were sent from Delhi Kuna old city to Daulatabad. And he also changed his capital from Delhi to Daulatabad. He also collected taxes to feed the army as Khilji did, but he levied additional taxes also. He collected taxes, Alauddin Khilji also collected taxes, but he levied additional taxes over those taxes even. He also paid cash salaries to his soldiers, but he introduced a token currency made of cheap metal. The same way he also adopted cash salaries were given, but the change he made it was he introduced a token currency that was made of cheap metal. And people of that 14th century were very smart. What they did, they were paying the taxes in the form of this cheap metal currency, token currency, and they saved their gold and silver currency that was saved with the people. And the ruler, the Tughlaqs, they were not having, they had the currency in the cheap metal only. So that was the mistake done by the failure of Tughlaq administration. Very important question. Both Khilji's administration reform and Tughlaq's failure. Now the failures. If we talk about failures of Muhammad Tughlaq's administration, he planned to invade Transoxiana but failed. He ordered his army to invade in Transoxiana, there in from where Genghis Khan invaded subcontinent. But on the way, after some time, he ordered the army to come back. And on the way, the army, they were very hungry and the condition was worst. They are with the soldiers. So this was the really that he took that plan was really very bad for Muhammad Tughlaq. As he shifted residents of old city to Daulatabad, people did not like it. This was again one of the failure. He levied additional taxes. As we talked that he had that the people, they were paying, the peasants were paying taxes, but he levied additional taxes, that was the extra burden on the people. So again one more failure. Policy of token currency was also proved failure, as people, they filled their houses with gold and silver currency, and they were paying their taxes in the form of token currency only. That's why treasure of the kingdom that was getting empty. So these were the failures of Muhammad Tughlaq's administration. Now Sultanate in 15th and 16th century. After Tughlaqs, there was Sayyid and Lodi till 1526. They were ruling, because in 1526 then Mughal Emperor Babur, he came there in Delhi. Then they had limited area at the time, because different people, different zones like Jaunpur, Malwa, Gujarat and entire South India had independent rulers by this time. They got independence from Delhi Sultanate. So different independent rulers were there. They were having just limited area. Sher Shah Suri started his career during that period of time, and the dynasty that he established, that was Suri dynasty, and he was ruler there for 15 years, and he adopted Khilji's administration that was later on adopted by Akbar even. So this was all about Sher Shah Suri, who defeated Humayun, and but later on he ruled there for 15 years only. The dynasty named where he was ruler, it was known as Suri dynasty. So this was the condition of Delhi Sultanate in 15th and 16th century. This was all about the chapter. I think you have understood it through this chapter, through this lecture. Now if we talk about the homework, the assignment is there, and in this assignment very short questions are given only one is the long question that was left, and you will be having test, and this time you will be having the test of the short questions only. So that's why the short questions are included there in the assignment. The multiple choice questions, you will write just question and then its answer only, no need to write the options. Clear? So on the day of the lecture you will be getting assignment, on next very day you will be getting its solution, and next day of assignment solution there will be the test or short questions. So multiple choice questions. The Mongols invaded Delhi Sultanate under the leadership of these options you will take. Iqtidar was also known as Alauddin constructed a new garrison town for his soldiers. The name of his town was Dash introduced token currency. Then fill in the blanks. Qutbuddin Aibak founded the Dash dynasty after the death of Muhammad Ghori. Razia was only female sultan of Delhi who succeeded. During Alauddin Khilji reign, the Dash invaded India several times. Dash controlled the prices of goods in Delhi. Sher Shah captured Delhi and established his own dynasty known as Dash dynasty. True and false. The authors of Tariq were just literate men. The Delhi Sultan built several mosques in cities of all over the subcontinent. The token currency introduced by Muhammad Tughlaq was made of gold and silver. A fortified settlement with soldiers was called garrison town. Razia Sultan was removed from throne in 1250. Answer the following questions. Why did the authors of Tariq write their histories for Sultan? Why was Razia removed from throne? Which Sultan converted his currency into copper coin? Who defeated Tomar Rajputs? Name the successor of Jalaluddin Khalji. Now one long question, explain the administrative failure of Muhammad Tughlaq. This assignment you will be getting on homework site also. Now it's turn for homework solution of lecture 3. What was the language of administration under Delhi Sultanate? That was Persian language. In whose reign did Sultanate reach its farthest extent? Means large area it was having. The Sultanate reached its farthest extent during reign of Muhammad Tughlaq. What were the steps taken to ensure that Muktis performed their duties? The steps taken to ensure that Muktis performed their duties. Accountants were appointed to check the amount of revenue collected by Muktis. Whatever they were collecting, it was checked by accountants. They were also taking care that Muktis collected only the taxes prescribed by the state. They were taking care that Muktis kept only required number of soldiers. Give an account of Alauddin's administration reforms. Alauddin's administration reform. Alauddin Khilji raised a large standing army as defensive measure. He constructed a new garrison town named Siri for his soldiers. The soldiers had to be fed. This was done with the help of tax from inland. He paid cash salaries to his soldiers rather than Ekta. He controlled the prices of goods in Delhi. So that's it for today. Thank you and have a nice day.